Our Big Dumb Mouth, one of the funniest podcasts on the planet, one of the four horsemen of the Union of the Unwanted, back from vacation to the land of dioxins. Midnight Mike, what's happening, buddy?
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
What's up,
Heck
buddy?
yeah. Heck yeah. It's been a minute. It's good to see you again. You did have a well earned break there. I hope you were able to enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoyed the break, but now I'm back to the grind. I disconnected. I tried not to look at news or be plugged in for about 7 days, and being in the mountains in Puerto Rico certainly helped because I wasn't in Wi-Fi. There was no TV where I was staying, and the cell signals were less than stellar. So it was a nice break.
Heck yeah. I'm for that. I am. I am. I like it. So, all right. Like week in the, island jungle. That'd be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah. Just one day in Old San Juan, and about 5 days at this meditation yoga retreat in the mountains, and
You
it
did
was.
the Aaron Rodgers thing, huh?
I guess so. Is that what he does? I'm
You
doing that.
Well,
joined
he
the
go
Jets?
he goes in he goes in for meditation, like for black, like a mountain or something, where there's no electricity, just really dark, and
There was
spends
electricity.
like 5 days.
My wife is into meditation and yoga, so I observed while she was doing the yoga and meditation. I was reading books on Hollow Earth and UFOs, and so, but I was just staring out into the jungle and really forcing myself to not pick up the phone, and because there's really no signal there, so I really couldn't look at news. So it was pretty easy to do.
Nice.
Whose Hollow Earth book were you reading?
It was David Hatcher Childress. Um, he's done many different books, but it was basically a compilation of books. I should say magazine articles from the 1940s up to the 50s, and uh, and just a compilation of books dealing with Hollow Earth and Lumeria. Um, Basically like past life kind of memories. It's very difficult to read. It wasn't my favorite book, but I did it.
All right. All right.
Interesting.
I've heard a number of different Hollow Earth ish related stories, theories, all that kind of thing. It's interesting. It is. I don't, some of it's pretty hard to get through, some of it's pretty uh easily dismissible, but it's an interesting subject for sure.
I guess if I in the world of round Earth versus flat Earth versus hollow Earth, I am more like hollow Earth than flat Earth. So I think
Okay.
they're fascinating theories when it comes to hollow Earth or inner Earth, as some people call it. Simply because the Nazis were fascinated with the subject. They spent an immense amount of resources trying to research Hollow Earth, trying to gain access to it, thinking that there was some ancient race, some ancient knowledge deep below the surface of the Earth that they could try to either attain or gather information from, so they could try to rule the world, the round world, I guess.
Do you think below the surface there's curvature again?
Uh, According to like Hollow Earth, yeah. I mean, there's the I guess the it'd be concave. So they have their own little world down there. According to some Hollow Earth people, there's like the inner sun, where they have giant plants, giant animals. They have their own sun down there. I think that if there is some sort of inhabitants of inner Earth, it's just a very large cave system. And by the accounts of the ancients, thousands and thousands, if not tens of thousands of years ago, when there was a great cataclysm that destroyed much of the civilization that existed. You could call it Atlantis or whatever. It destroyed that civilization. It drove much of that population that lived in the north to the central equator area, and then the rest of the population went into the earth and continued to thrive. Um, those are the legends. I don't know about a sun on the interior of the Earth. It seems a little far fetched, but I do think that there could be inhabitants, if not weird life forms, way down there that we just haven't explored or rediscovered yet.
All right, and they're hogging all the mithril.
Yeah, all that stuff that the dwarves love. Yeah, I mean some of the legends are pretty incredible. Like in this book, there was a civilization. You can call it Atlantis. Some people say Atlantis came after Lemuria. Lemuria was basically the Atlantis of the Pacific region. They had advanced technology. They had an advanced culture. Some cataclysm came by, comet, meteor. And they had all this technology. A lot of it get destroyed. Much of it was transported underneath the surface of the earth where they continued to thrive. But while they moved the technology down there, they didn't have the knowledge to keep it up, to maintain it. And their technology degraded over time, at least parts of that civilization. And so they're currently surviving on antiquated, not very well kept technology, at least parts of them. And that the UFOs that we see are not from a different star system. They're from hollow Earth. And they have evolved next to the surface people. You have the inner Earth people that have UFO tech, and then you have us, which are basically kind of like the Morlocks, like the H.G. Wells, where you have the two classes of people in the time traveler H.G. Wells story. You have the ruling elite that have the technology and the knowledge, and you have the serf class, which is basically the food. We're the food.
Well, yes, certainly. If you had to point to an event other than asteroid or comet or something like that that may have contributed to the downfall of Lemurian or Atlantean society, do you think they had like their own little woke thing? I think there were some woke Lemurians that were running around, like actually contributed to the downfall of that society. Maybe they decided that I don't know. Let's see. What's something ridiculous that we could blame for the downfall of Lemurian society? They started breeding with mermaids, or they tried to. They started marrying mermaids. They went to transaquatic species marriage, but mermaids don't have actual sex organs that are compatible with Lemurians. No matter what advanced technology they had and surgeries they tried to apply, they couldn't make a species going forward of that. So the ones that were like, screw it, we're out of here, they went to the hollow earth, and that's who has evolved alongside of us. Just trying to provide some backstory here.
So when it comes to like the fall of Atlantis, cataclysm, but building up to the cataclysm, and this is all conjecture and like speculation based upon I think a lot of like past life memories, and then maybe some documents here and there, but
Lemurian Mossad got involved with Lemurian Hollywood.
Like the Atlanteans had an advanced culture. They had technology. They were involved in like gene editing, gene splicing, and they got too far away from their spiritual roots. And they themselves thought they could become gods. They could control life. They could create life. Not unlike what's going on in modern day society here when it comes to how far we're trying to push science when it comes to DNA or even AI. A lot of things are spinning out of control. So the stories are that Atlantis technologically spun out of control, and then God came down and smote them to let them know that hey, you got to stick to your place, know your place, don't get too big for your britches. And a couple of survivors from the Atlantis civilization, they went to Mexico. A couple of others went over to North Africa, and they started those civilizations.
I mean, as far as morality tales go, I think across the board, you see where hubris and decadence become the downfall of whatever it is you're trying to create and build and maintain. So it's I'm not as familiar with Atlantean, like that particular set of, mysteries, and then also background of information. It is incredibly fascinating to me. It
It
really
goes deep.
is.
It goes deep.
Yeah.
Like the just the stories around it. Like there are rulers, like the rulers of the Atlantean civilization. Well, they some of them were pushed underground to Hollow Earth, and they continue to rule down there and be masters of the Hollow Earth. And there's different kingdoms down there, and all this fascinating uh, stories, fiction, if you want to call it science fiction, but there are parallels to what we are facing today on up here on the surface. And
This is Yeah, my background with it has been like I don't know, Grateful Dead tour, just conversations that, in the early mid 90s that people were having after shows. And then there were a handful of people that I knew when I was doing Renaissance festivals that were way into the Atlantean thing. And that was the first time that I had ever heard of Lemuria, all that kind of stuff. And so, I mean, I've heard people discourse on it, and I've read some things here and there, and I've seen a couple of video presentations, but I haven't really dove in, as
it's
it were.
it's a crazy subject because once you dig into it's tough to separate things like Atlantis, Lemuria, then Hollow Earth, Inner Earth, and UFOs and all that kind of stuff because it's a tangled web. And once you go down and start reading one book, then you're like, oh, I want to read this other one, and then you have this whole elaborate story that could very well just be all BS, but it's fascinating. It's interesting food for thought, and I think that there could be some truths in there about the at least the ancient civilization that was much more grand and technologically advanced than the Egyptians in 10,000 years before that. That was very prominent and had trade, global trade, and that they were just a force to be reckoned with, and were destroyed. Some of that knowledge was passed down after it was destroyed, but much of the history was erased. But some of those legends persist and are true because some of those legends just are are uh, are verified by other different startups from or startup civilizations from around the world after the Great Flood. There are just so many different parallels that it's tough to ignore. Now, whether or not there were 10-foot Atlanteans that ruled, giants that ruled and did survive up until maybe 2000 BC, it's unknown.
What did you hear about the Great Flood? Was the Great Flood a mud flood? I've been hearing shit about that. Like it was like mud flood that killed a lot of people and kind of. Have you ever
So
heard those stories about
I
like and then some of the architect and some of the places in Europe and Africa, whatnot, that's like buried underground and they're building on top of it.
This is the Tartaria stuff.
so
Uh,
I don't know much about like the Tartarian or Tartarus
It
civilization.
is Tartaria, yeah.
yeah.
And but I think that's what over there in what is Russia and parts of Mongolia and China, that whole entire civilization, like that has recently like sprung up. I haven't taken the time to look at it, let alone understand what may have prevented its discovery until or prominence until recently. So you think it's like you heard a giant mud flood or a mudslide that just covered everything?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, what I
That's
heard
pretty much what I
is,
heard, yeah.
I mean, the cataclysm, at least when it comes to like the inner Earth theory, is parts of a comet that that broke off, crashed into Earth, and that's what caused the great cataclysm, and in turn just the great migration from the north to the equator and scattered civilizations that once existed. Maybe that also took out Tataria. I don't know.
So every several couple hundred years, 300, 400 years, something like that, there has apparently been a huge, just sort of cataclysmic type event, mud flood, earthquake, number of things that change or move or reset civilizations. Uh, the the one with the Tartarian, where it particularly ties into like what Tartaria was, is that the architecture that remains is thought to be an energy system. That there's a number of different structures that involve either water or some sort of conductive metal that isn't part of the original structure, that when you view it from above looks more like the way that a battery set up and a motherboard is set up. There's all sorts of ways that they use ley lines within the architecture around it on any specific property that also look like they're setting up some sort of, you know, uh, circuitry. That the Earth itself was used as a battery. This is the whole theory.
I
The
like it.
for other, for other, as a power source, and whether or not there's anybody here is just sort of ancillary to what the Earth itself was and was used for.
I like those theories, like the ley line theories, and that the Earth has like a natural energy grid to it. You just got to know where these nexus points are, and then you can build. I don't know if you want to call it machinery, but at least architecture that can harness it. I think that's fascinating to me. It kind of makes sense to a certain degree. Um, and what's frustrating is like when you talk about these weirder ideas, it's met with like a lot of resistance. Even like Graham Hancock's recent series on Netflix, talking about just discovering older stone structures, gets met with a great deal of resistance from the archaeological community. Whoever comprises the archaeological community, they don't like Graham Hancock because he challenges their commonly held timeline of humanity. And what he discovers is like some pretty interesting structures that are above ground, but also do go quite far below the surface of the earth. They go down too. So
Where
they
the
must,
original, yeah, and the original footprint extends way beyond
yeah.
what you see above ground. Not only that, but the mud flood thing is one of those events that also lend a little bit of more credence or credibility to their false history, false timeline, a 400-year period around the middle dark ages or post dark ages that may or may not have actually happened. And so there's way, it's a wild, a whole wild avenue of looking at how the whole story unfolded. Really is.
But
The state. Go
even
ahead.
if we did know the story, even if like someone came down, gave us a book, told us the full story, it's almost immaterial to like our day to day life. It's great to know. It'd be fascinating to know, but until like there is consensus among the people in power about how the world really was constructed and who lived here, it's I don't know if it's meaningless, but it may not be practical knowledge to know right now. They're fascinating subjects and to talk about, and I wish more mainstream academia would get on board with some of these topics, but they're not because of stigma and budgets.
Mm.
They just don't want to they don't want to dive in.
I think if for no other reason than there's been a concerted effort by academia, by the predator class or whatever you want to call them, for centuries, to make everybody think that we're not unique, special, spiritual creations that have some sort of purpose outside of to go to work every day for, well, them. I that diving into stuff like this is important, and that looking at, just alternative, I don't know, alternative histories, the possibility of alternative civilizations, the possibility of accessing natural energy within the ecosystem that you live in, as opposed to having to go ahead and, I guess, coup Bolivia for it. There's
Yeah.
number of different aspects that may not necessarily be super practical, but also quite helpful. But
I think they're great thought exercises too, to allow someone to think possibly different about how they can approach generating energy, or at least some different ideas nowadays. I think Randall Carlson, he's working on some stuff when it comes to like alternative power sources. Um, I think he got into like a little bit of I don't know how to say the heat, but over on Joe Rogan, he was like mentioning the last time he was on that he was working on some pretty interesting new power sources, and then even people in like our podcasting community are researching that as well. I find that fascinating. Listen, if we can get different alternative energy sources to help clean up the environment and like pollution, so we don't have to transport chemicals that explode in like 100 miles away from me, that'd be
yeah,
great. There should be more resources devoted to that, but they're not, because we're run by a bunch of evil people.
Yeah.
we had a great conversation with Graham from Grimerica earlier in the week about a lot of the Randall Carlson stuff, and the alternative energy sources in general. It was a really good time. It was. And apparently Joe Rogan's still withholding that one episode where Randall brought on the other person that he's been working with on this energy source. It's one of those things where I think the thing that we're all just waiting for in terms of the other shoe to drop for quote unquote free energy is how all these various governmental factions are going to try to step in to regulate and own the free energy.
Exactly. Like, this has been one of those things that's been going on as long as I can remember when it comes to trying to gain access to different forms of energy production. I think everyone's heard the story of, like, Johnny Carson having the guy on that had an engine made out of water on, and then nothing really came of that. There was the story of a guy down in Australia that was able to power his car with a weird form of energy. Like, every time there's like some breakthrough in like energy production, um, there's like a lot of hype around it, and then it just dies out. So I'm assuming, like, if Randall Carlson is working on this, that the people in power, they know about this stuff, and they have it. They have this stuff already, and that uh, the rumor is like the military tech is 50 years beyond what the civilians have. I think it's way beyond that. I think it might be hundreds of years beyond what we have. And
Really?
yeah, sure. At this point,
Hundreds of years?
sure. I wouldn't if some of the UFOs that we're seeing are our own human-made tech, then you'd have to say hundreds of years beyond us when it comes to propulsion. Some of that, if they are true real objects and not some sort of like hologram projected, if it's real tech, then I would say, what propulsion is it using that doesn't have any sort of exhaust and can move and accelerate, stop, and make those turns without destroying the pilot or the instrumentation inside? Is doing some really mind-bending stuff. So I would say
I
hundreds of years. Yeah.
I think that people, Steve, what was the name of the march or the rally when they were going to go and storm Area 50? Is it 57,
Area
51?
51.
51. Yeah, no, it was Storm Area 51.
51, right? Like,
It was like the psyopiest psyop of the
but there's something to that. I think that people are missing. Like, right? Like, they're like, people are like, well, why would they want to storm Area 51 anyways and stuff? And what do they think, they're going to find aliens inside? And I said, I think it's more about them like withholding all the energy sources in there. Like, if that's where they're testing all these energy sources and shit, yeah, I mean, how fucking evil is it if they have like, technology to use this propulsion and whatnot. What do the UFOs use? Is it just straight? Is it a propulsion energy thing that we think it is, where they can move any
I mean,
particular way?
they have, according, I mean, if you believe some of what Bob Lazar says,
Steve
that it
loves
is
Bob Lazar.
some sort of gravity lens to where there is a power source that can decrease, I think, anybody, please correct me if I'm wrong, decrease the mass of a particular object. Now, that's like one form of it. The other form is like some sort of a power system that rotates Mercury at a particular velocity, like it rotates it, and that in and of itself produces some sort of anti-mass properties to the vehicle that it's encompassing or that it's in. And then there's like the 0 point energy, harnessing the energy that is just in existence around us, like the energy of the vacuum or just that is around us. But they even recently, I think they had like breakthroughs in like cold fusion. So there's all these different alternative energy technologies that have been worked on for a long time, and we're still driving around pretty much in cars that create fire and explosions. And what maybe the most recent advancement is like battery technology, but that's even old. That's even 100 plus years old at this point. We're being trapped. We're basically trapped here on this prison planet while they got awesome sweet tech, and they're basically hogging it for themselves.
Yeah, that's the it's definitely one of the working theories. I mean, according to Behold a Bale Horse, or Bill Cooper talked about how in the 30 years ago the tech was 50 to 100 years old minimum.
Yeah.
Or what we were using was 50 to 100 years behind what was already known and being developed and worked on.
I mean, you can just see how fast it's advancing right now with like the natural language processing, AI, if people want to call it, with Chat GPT. And it was a nice, cute, fun thing when everyone started playing with Chat GPT like 6 months ago. And then it started being really useful to hackers to hack systems. And then people started using it to write their own code. And then it got kind of broken free when you gave it a few commands. And now they have a new version that is getting ready to be released. And it is basically able to pass most of the significantly difficult tests, like tests when it comes to the medical field, bar exam, all that kind of stuff. And it does it at a very high success rate, like 95%.
Yeah.
And it's gonna basically eliminate a lot of jobs where you need, are you a translator? Is your entire job and livelihood dependent on you translating one language to another? Well, that job is probably going to go away really quickly. When it comes to diagnosing health and prescribing medication, that's probably going to be done by your phone, by an app that ties into an AI.
They just did the one with that Microsoft came out with. They just did a whole bunch of like drug discovery with it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm worried like this Chat GPT, like this is the consumer grade version. I would assume that the military, if not the CIA, has had this stuff already, these predictive analytics and this natural language processing for quite a while, and they make decisions based upon it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been doing it for at least a decade now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's why you go ahead, pause it.
I was just saying Jesus H and F and Christmas. Go ahead. That's it. That's all I got is holy shit.
Well, I mean, this is why you see protests go the way protests go. It's why you see color revolutions gamed out the way that they're doing. To your point, Mike, it wouldn't surprise me a bit if things like Crimson Contagion, Event 201, these sorts of simulated exercises, Cyber Polygon, doubtless has an advanced learning machine that is helping it game out scenarios, that's the the spars document could easily have been aided by this sort of technology. And then if you look at the last several years of actual history, we effectively took what's in that SPARS 2025 scenario and dropped it right down on real time. And we're more or less ticking off a lot of those boxes and going in more or less along with the outline in that plan there.
Yeah, it does. It does seem like we have, unbeknownst to us, have been living in this AI created reality for us for at least 10 years. I'll say, like, things at least for me, start to feel kind of contrived and wacky. 2012, 2013 is when I like started to really notice a difference online when it came to even things like Reddit. The bots got a lot more advanced. They were a lot more engaging, and the propaganda really kind of got kicked up when it came to the singular narrative. And it could have been turned loose at that point in time. The CIA they had articles written, or someone wrote articles about the CIA, bragging that they could predict social unrest up to 5 days out from it actually taking place. Now, whether or not they could predict it or if they could influence that social unrest by use of AI or natural language processing it's immaterial. They can predict and or influence. And I suspect that they know a lot more, and that we're basically just reacting to playbooks that have already been thought out by algorithms that can see every branch of decision making, and they know which ones are the most impactful, and they use them in order to funnel people to one of two decisions. That's why we live in such a binary world now, where either you're Hitler or you're not, either you're vaccine or you're anti-vaccine. They have done such a good job at placing people into two camps through this almost choose your own adventure scenario that they put everyone through online.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a
Yeah.
downer,
And
but I
here's
am.
what you were talking about in terms of, GPT-4 passing all of these exams. This is what, and in terms of, okay, well, that's just silly. Don't do that, kids. Don't worship AI as a god. You knew it was going to happen. But uh have you been back off vacation long enough to see the Elon was aghast that Sam Altman has made money off of Elon's $100 million investment?
No, I haven't. I haven't gotten clued into that yet. I came
There,
back from vacation and was trying to follow the bank crashings and the bank failures because I work for a Silicon Valley startup. So uh,
Oh
I'm
yeah, shit. Yeah.
I'm I don't know how impacted I am yet. I got to meet with my manager today and see where this all leads, and whether or not if I can get a good conversation with him, because yeah, I work for a company that's based out of San Francisco, that does take on venture capital. So
Yeah.
how much longer am I going to be working there? I don't know. Hopefully I find out today. Yeah, there's a
that's
lot of news I missed. Like taking 5 to 7 days off of news.
Yeah.
So much stuff happens and I just miss it.
Yeah. And did you hear about Aaron Rodgers? You know, I know we just talked about him going into the darkness, but he came out and he says, "I'm going to be a Jet."
Oh man.
That's not the true story that he just came out and says, "I want to be a Jet." He was like 90-10 that he was going to retire, came out and said he still wants to play. And knew that the Packers were ready to move on. And that's why he said, "I want to go play for the Jets the last couple of years, maybe." So who knows? Fun stuff. But I just think it's awesome that my favorite player, and he's recently been my favorite player because of the situations with the jab, you know, him standing up for that. And then also him kind of dropping about the Epstein situation, you know, on a podcast, which I know a lot of people are like, wow, well, it's stuff you kind of knew and everything like that. But like, how many people you see, you know, in the mainstream football players ever say anything like that? So, you know, it's pretty awesome. So who knows? We'll see.
I do like it when celebrities kind of put their neck on the line there to say something that is common sense to us, but for them to do it is a bit controversial.
Oh yeah. We had Justin Jackson on our shows back in the days, and it was a running back for the Chargers. I think he went to the Lions. I don't even know if he's picked up by anybody, but you know, he was getting into the whole scene. And we had asked him, like, "Hey man, like, you know, all these players are writing different things on their cleats. Would you consider end all wars? Would free Assange? Will you put those things on your cleats?" He kind of smirked. He never did it, you know what I'm saying? But you know, we're pushing. We're pushing. Free Assange on a player's cleats. I'd like to see that.
I think you got to push the other way. And I think this is my new focus is to push the opposite way, forcing people to counter your argument. So instead of free Assange, just say on your jersey, just write kill him. Just kill him, create controversy that way. You got to create a conversation. If people start say Joe Biden is the best president ever. And if someone says, no, he's not, and it's like, well, then you call him a Trump supporter. And I think you have to make this as ridiculous as possible in order to force them to take the opposite side of you. And I think it's the only way it's really going to happen. And not unless Assange winds up dead. And then at which point you're maybe responsible. But it's a risk I'm willing to take.
What I did want to do when we had the lockdowns and they were still trying to creepily televise sporting events, but there was nobody in there, and then they started putting cardboard cutouts of people in the stands. I wanted to put a whole bunch of political prisoners like Julian Assange, Leonard Peltier, a whole bunch of people, who's Alex Saab, Ross Ulbricht, people that have been locked up in the stands, because you could buy whatever, you know, you could purchase, I guess, a cardboard cutout.
That's great.
I missed my boat there. I missed my boat there because they were like $500 a pop, and nobody really wanted to pony up for any of that shit. But yeah. Where people have hundreds of, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars, to throw around on all kinds of wacky stuff. But well, can you imagine watching a freaking football game and seeing nothing but like Julian Assanges and Edward Snowdens and Ross Ulbrichts and all kinds just packing the stands? Like,
I'd like to see like the Hunter Biden of him just in his underwear standing there.
Yes.
I get that, because that one like gets us banned pretty much every time on Instagram. Every time my co-host posts a picture of Hunter Biden in his underwear wearing that scarf, they pull it down and says your account may be banned for posting that image. So put him in the stands. He's a fan, probably.
All of the different people that Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell have been photographed with, and then you've just got two seats, and one's Epstein and them, Ghislaine and them. Yeah. Maybe that's why they made them so expensive.
Put them in the box seats. Put the whole gang, Epstein, Trump, Clinton, put them all in the box seats. You know, they'd be up there anyways. So
this is what the CIA and the DoD's AI gamed out beforehand, before lockdown, when they set the price floor for the cardboard cutouts. They were like, "No, these smart asses are going to figure it out eventually. We should price them out of it."
it also makes me like, like think about the summer of 2019 and Epstein's arrest, Epstein dying, and then COVID releasing. And what a crazy series of events that was leading up to the lockdown. From the summer of 2019 until right to the end. It's just a crazy series of news events that doesn't really get talked about anymore. No one's really talking about Epstein anymore. They talk about Ghislaine Maxwell, but not the circumstances around Jeffrey Epstein. And then every time there's like a little news piece about Epstein and the list and this black book, it just kind of fades away really quickly. Um,
Well, and I've noticed that when there's a resurgence of, oh, there's a thing dropping about the list, or there's a thing dropping about this, it's always old information that's being recirculated because at the same time there's a JP Morgan executive that washes up dead somewhere or is getting indicted for something or charged with something in relation to Epstein, or there's a district attorney in the Virgin Islands that gets, silenced and automatically just oddly loses her election or whatever, or gets promoted and also no other prosecution about money being moved back and forth between Little St. James and all of these banks gets talked about again. And so it seems that the recirculating of, oh, there's this or that or whatever is just always to throw people off or back into the past and then lead them to some sort of dead end or a conclusion that's already been already come to fruition, like, oh, well, he's dead, or oh, well, Ghislaine Maxwell's in prison, and
well,
there's no new
Epstein
information.
was doing everything those Atlanteans were doing. The Atlanteans were into like gene splicing and cloning and trying to divorce themselves with from their spiritual nature, and they thought science could rule all. Well, that's what Epstein was. I mean,
Yeah.
Epstein was into science and pushing the boundaries of what is legal, ethical, moral, and he still might be alive. I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. Do you think he got away, or did he really die in jail?
Got
So
away.
I think
Get in
I
Saudi
think that
Arabia.
he messed up too much. I think that you I think that he was assisted out of that facility, but then I think that the end result of that was that he was duct taped to a chair at a Mossad safe house until they figured out where all of his compromising material was, hard copies of everything, that sort of thing, and then you know um, he was disposed of. But that's only because he had already been caught a couple of times. He was already so high profile that he had become more expensive than he was useful. We've moved into an era where this is this is the year of the deep fake, man. I mean, if you've already got everybody's data and you can make a convincing deep fake of them doing anything, whatever they want, you don't necessarily need to have the whole blackmail operation thing going on anymore.
Yeah, yeah, you really don't. And it also provides plausible deniability that that's really you on that tape. They can just say deep fake, no matter what comes out. I think the only person who really knows, like one of the people that maybe only knows the real answer what really happened with Epstein was Attorney General Barr, who Trump appointed, and had pretty interesting connections to Epstein. And so I think, yeah, Attorney General Barr, he probably knows what happened and where Epstein is currently at, whether he's under the ground or living on an island somewhere. He knows. And it's just bizarre. Like you going back and listen to news from 2019 that they were just kind of like, yeah, it happened. Not a big deal. And yeah, this just happens in jail sometimes. People die. And it was swept under the rug. And you got a lot of attention. And then once COVID hit, it all went away. It just kind of disappeared. get some headlines here and there, but not that trending vibe that you would get on social media sometimes.
Well, the thing about it too is whether Barr knew whatever, if butts, candy, and nuts, he was in charge of him. And why would you put him at a fucking stupid New York, even if it's a supermax prison, and then the cameras don't work and all this bullshit? He should have been really in a safe house somewhere here, right? Unprotected, where he can't go anywhere. It was dumb that I can't believe the public bought the fact that they would put him in this prison, like with legitimate reasons for doing so. It's either they want to fake his death or have him killed.
Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah. It's just crazy. It was just in total insanity at that point, and it still is.
Well, and to this day, nobody's investigated or looked into the Zorro Ranch. We've never had like a full,
Yeah, no shit.
I guess auditing of that property. It's constantly up for sale. Somebody picks it up and, but is a part of that whole organization. Nobody's ever, we're never gonna know. But I mean, there's so many aspects to it that haven't been unfurled yet, and it's just I don't. It got memory hold right off the bat. At the same time, the Fed started printing money like crazy about August of 2019. Just money hand over fist. There was all kinds of weird shit.
It was just insane. It's like the death of Epstein was like a dead man switch, and then they're like, "Okay, he's dead. Let's move up some timetables. Let's get this going, guys." And shit hits the fan. It's like you can't investigate Jeffrey Epstein at a deep level because it touches too many different aspects of the ruling class. And the same thing with like Ukraine and like ties to money and money laundering. Like if Jeffrey Epstein was, he just had a lot of different relationships with everyone in power around the world, pretty much, it seems. And then Ukraine just seems to have financial ties to everyone around the world, and is critically important. And can't investigate anything going on there. Can't investigate Jeffrey Epstein. And sometimes they'll throw some stories out there, but it's really nothing of too much substance.
Well, in Ukraine has just been a money laundry for so many different crime families, not just the Biden one, but all over. I mean, all over the planet. And so this is about, I guess, upscaling the size of the laundry before you have to relocate to a new neighborhood, and then set your new money laundry down with the people who have at least culturally been incredibly traditionally good at something like that, or we will be going to Taiwan with it. It's just science. That makes sense.
I think there was some connections with the SVB bank and Epstein too, as well. Dating back. So, somebody had sent me something, and I have to look into it. They're like, "Oh, it looks like there's a few Epstein ties to this particular bank." Like he had his fingers in everywhere. It's Iran-Contra. Somebody to put that up in the stream just right now. I mean, he was involved with Iran-Contra. The dude got so much dirt, so much information.
Well, Bill Barr helped cover, right? Bill Barr was the cover-up crew for Iran-Contra too. Bill Barr was George H.W. Bush's attorney general when Iran-Contra was officially dismissed. And everybody sort of got off or got a slap on the wrist, and Ollie North got part, and all that kind of stuff happened. That was Billy Barr. He was the CIA lawyer during the church committee who was running obfuscation. He's been part of the cover-up crew from day one. That's just been his role. His dad hired Epstein gave him his first gig
teaching
or
class.
whatever.
Yeah.
And then when there was that creepy interview with Bill Barr about Epstein, where he like smiles all weird when they ask him about it. Yeah. I don't know.
I think that was about Ghislaine, right? Like, I hope she doesn't. I hope she doesn't end up dead like Epstein, and he laughs. kind of like something like that.
That's a little
I think they
fun.
were mentioning Epstein, but Jeffrey, but they were it was about Ghislaine. Listen, Bill Barr is a fucking awful human being. You know what I'm saying? He was just terrible. Like with the whole election shit. Like he literally went on Wolf Blitzer and he talked about the elections and he was talking about what was to come with the mail-in ballots. I was very happy that he did it. He was kind of warning everybody, letting people know, and I was very happy. But then when push came to shove, nothing had changed. Everything he had said that was going to happen pretty much happened. And what did he do? He says, no, there's no there there. That was the whole thing. That was his whole phrase that they used in the what do you call that little phony little fucking thing they got together? The J6 committee, right? There's no there there.
Yes.
There's no there there. What the fuck does that mean? Nothing has changed. You even said all this shit was bad. So what changed? Nothing.
It's just Barr comes from such a weird family. Like his dad wrote that his dad Donald Barr wrote that book about like I think it's called Space Relations, where I think it's like a science fiction book about like intergalactic slave trade and like sexual relations and all that kind of weird stuff where hey, according to this plot summary, the plot of Sex Relations is that ultra wealthy aliens um they're unable to be satisfied by their riches, so they kidnap humans as sex slaves, transporting them into space to be given uh as illegal playthings to the super rich of the galaxy. He wrote that book. So Bob Barr or Bill Barr's dad wrote a book about space people abducting humans for sex slaves.
Well, is he trying to? Is that like code for what's actually going on right now? Who these people are thinking they're doing these, types of experiments or whatnot, like the Epstein,
Exactly.
right? Well, what we talked about Zorro Ranch. What was going on at Zorro Ranch, right? Supposedly transhumanism of
yeah.
sorts. Like, wasn't there? What was he impregnated so many girls that were there and whatnot? Was trying to. I don't know. We've heard all these things. So, I mean, was
how
that
many
a code book?
Epstein babies are walking around now?
Jesus.
I'd like to know how many Epstein babies are walking around. We'll never
Right.
know.
You're going to find out the next time there's a series of red scarf suicides right before a documentary film is supposed to be dropping. Something like that. I don't know. It still trips me out how much Chester Bennington from Lincoln Park looks like John Podesta. That whole arc and story, what that's supposed to be. Yeah, there's all kinds of shit that Mike's right. That's tied into, I don't know, just about all of the other branches of horrible reporting that we wind up doing. And the transhumanist experiments that Epstein was helping to fund in that research, and people like Steven Pinker who were a part of all that, who get to go on Joe Rogan and talk about a whole bunch of other things, where then when it's kind of brought up, that he gets to do what Bill Gates does, where it's like, oh, well, there was just money involved. And I don't know. I mean, yeah, sure, I met him once or twice, but it was a function, a thing. And I don't know. We had overlapping interests. Well, those overlapping interests are things that need to be discussed. It's the let's go ahead and make little Epstein clones or make little Steven Pinker clones, because let's be honest, the world is too freaking stupid and we need a bunch of us running around and running it. We got to get rid of all of the other morons that are just gumming up the works.
Is there overlapping interest in New York Jets or killing people? Because it does make a difference what their hobbies are.
That's a fair point, Mike. That's a fair point.
Overlapping interests.
I mean, it's
What
right.
a BS excuse.
Right. What? No, we had overlapping interests. Oh, you both enjoy fishing? No, it's a little different than that. Oh, well then obviously you like the same cut of suit. Well, not
Strangling
quite.
children.
You see, there's you say strangling, but we prefer to think of it as erotic asphyxiation.
Sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Why drag INXS into this? They didn't do anything wrong. Poor Michael Hutchins.
Should have slid over there and given a buddy a safe word. All right, that's
Yeah.
what you should have done.
Uh,
Poor fella.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I don't know. I think this is what we learned. We had Nicole Saratak on Monday, and we did learn from an actual nurse that really, if you're gonna choke and stroke, you need a buddy for that. There's got to be a buddy system. You should be able to trust an individual enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna have to pick you up now. Otherwise you're just gonna you're gonna Carradine your way out of the old wandering desert, and
So I mean that's it's kind of awkward if you're still living with your parents. It's kind of, I mean, are you going to yell it to your mom or dad your safe word? I mean that's something you got to
how
do with like
many
your
choke and
college roommate.
stroke deaths involve teenagers, though? They're
Yeah.
usually like older celebrities.
They're scared. Yeah, true.
They're
yeah.
starting earlier nowadays, Steve. So you know what
Because
I'm
of
saying?
TikTok.
Remember
I'm
Courtney?
saying, I mean,
Courtney?
it does take a certain amount of desensitization to get to the point to where, like, yeah, no, I'm gonna have to go ahead and cut my own circulation off just so I can achieve a climax. You know what I mean? Like, it seems like there's a progression there. You don't wake up at 14 years old going, yeah, I gotta choke me to do me.
I cannot believe like that theory wasn't promoted more when it came to like Epstein hanging himself in the prison jail cell. Like it it was an accident. He was
He
really
was just trying to get off.
Mhm.
He's
Yeah,
just a
he
regular
knew he
guy.
wasn't gonna beat the charges.
No, he just beat himself.
So
Ooh.
there's more than one way to get off. Jeffrey Epstein really hung himself out to dry.
And maybe that proves that he's still alive, because if they were really upset with him and what he was doing, that they maybe would have released it as like, oh, he was just trying to get off, like as a way to like degrade or diminish his memory and whatnot. Like, oh, this guy was nothing but just a kinky freak. And he was so horned up all the time that he had to choke himself to get off in prison. He couldn't stop. But that story didn't come out. They didn't even go with that angle at all. I don't think they even entertain that theory at all. But for like people like Carradine, that was the theory easily right off the bat. Michael Hutchins, that was given as the explanation. But for like Carradine, that was the explanation. But according to his nephew, Carradine was like doing some PI stuff, some investigations into some bad dudes, and he was set up to make it look like that.
Yeah.
They always say that shit.
Same with Anthony Bourdain, same with Chris Cornell, same with Avicii,
Prodigy.
same with there was Prodigy, there was Chester Bennington, you got the whole red scarf on the doorknob thing. There seems to be I don't know, maybe it's a misdirect, maybe it is, maybe none of that shit matters when you've got Palantir getting $100 million deals with the State Department. Now, this story may result in our Rumble stream experiencing technical difficulties like it was the other day.
Well, no, he's not with Palantir anymore.
He's still got stock in the company.
Does he? I thought he sold off all his stocks. I thought he was completely done with Palantir.
Well, and okay, in that case, they're all in the subsidiary. He's still got a bunch of he's still got a bunch of ties to Palantir, Peter Thiel.
Jesus Christ.
But to be honest, so Palantir, like the $100 million deal with the U.S. State Department for Palantir, I think that's a bit of a drop in the bucket. They already have contracts with a good chunk of the Defense Department, and like so, this is just like I think it's a drop in a bucket for them with in the relationships with the United States government and industrial military complex. So
It's less the dollar amount and more the reason that they're doing it. So Palantir, along with having the health data for the NHS and the Australian medical or health services, New Zealand's, and I believe now Canada's, um, they're working to have all the health data make the Bureau of Medical Services respond faster to any health crisis faced by embassy staff and their family. Now we need all of the health data of all of the spooks, right? We need all of the that's where if you're doing it for embassies and staff, that's $100 million to maintain the health records of all of the people that are traditionally it's embassy staff or people that have embassy jobs, that's just instant first level cover for intelligence operatives, stuff like that. That's
I
I'm reaching but not much.
well, I saw this. I've used Palantir before. I mean, they have a like a suite of tools that you can use if you're like a big business. You want to like monitor like network traffic and all that kind of stuff. You can use some of the Palantir tools. Now, for this specifically, the reason why this kind of piqued my interest is that they want to monitor the health and well-being of State Department employees. Is that I think a good chunk of State Department employees were affected by that Havana syndrome thing that was taking place from 2016. I think even currently, and that maybe they want to use Palantir to make more correlations of health impacts from the Havana syndrome events that are taking place, and that Palantir will help expedite making relationships between Havana syndrome true cases and then false positives, so they can really figure out what's going on there. Because really, what's the advantage to this? I'm not seeing like the good sell beyond trying to find some sort of like weird events for the State Department. Seems like a waste of money.
I mean, I don't know. Palantir is also essentially its own private intelligence firm.
Mhm.
So it may be more about Palantir acquiring the health records of people who are connected to other intelligence outlets for manipulating them in future projects for future purposes. This may just be an information collecting operation. You can always manipulate people biomedically. You can always influence the way people are going to behave based on pre-existing medical conditions that they have to become way more predictable that way too. So there's a number of different ways that you can look at it.
Yeah, it's
I don't
fascinating.
know.
I
Seems
mean,
more like
it's a powerful, it's a powerful suite of tools, and I just know it's been. I think it's been ingrained pretty much in our government, or at least our, the Pentagon. What the past 12 years at this point? That's when I first heard Palantir.
Mhm.
It's pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I think it was a 2010, either 2010 or 2011 when him and Alex Karp co-founded the company. And one or both of them were also involved at Stratfor, a couple other places. This is basically like, well, Palantir is effectively like the private version of what Unit 8200 does for Israel. It, especially in terms of cranking out suites of tools that make it easier to get into other people's business.
I
Although,
mean, all that data that they're collecting, like Palantir has like there's just reams of data. It's like fire hoses of data that pours into it. They make predictions based upon the analytics, and but it's tough to comb through everything. So I mean, it takes a lot of effort, and I suspect that once they turn like something like a chat GPT loose on all that data to make like predictive analytics based upon, they're going to claim like the health of State Department employees. I doubt it. I think they're probably looking for like double agents at that point.
That's interesting. That's a way to look at it. That's a way to look at it. Apparently, Charlie Robinson was in the chat bitching because we hadn't got to the raccoon dogs yet.
Oh man, we have
Oh
raccoon dogs?
Jesus. Well, now would be a good time, I guess.
I mean, we have
Yeah.
gone into the second hour. Mike's only here for another half an hour or so. So
Yeah.
Well, get into the raccoon dogs.
Let's do it. I want to know. This is news to me.
Raccoon dogs caused the pandemic.
Oh,
Told
man.
you. I done told you.
Turns out, Mike, it turns out that it wasn't
Wasn't
a
bats?
pangolin making sweet love to a bat, who in turn made sweet love to either Mickey Mouse or Randy Marsh or both. The strongest evidence yet.
Oh, it's come from the Atlantic. So
Of
that, you
course.
know,
Yeah,
that-
God bless the Atlantic. Catherine Wu. You can always
Yeah.
count on you.
Raccoon dogs. Raccoon dogs. Raccoon dogs. Okay, so for 3 years now, the debate over the origins of the coronavirus pandemic is ping-ponged. Isn't that?
It's a
Never
bit
mind.
racist. Yeah.
That's a bit racist. Just a bit. Between two big ideas that SARS-CoV-2 spilled into human populations directly from a wild animal source and that the pathogen leaked from a lab. Well, there's a couple other arguments there and ideas, Catherine, but we'll digress for a moment. Through a swirl of data obfuscation by Chinese authorities and politicization within the United States, you're supposed to read Donald Trump's name there. Rampant speculation from all corners of the world. Many scientists have stood by the notion this outbreak, like most others, had purely natural roots, that the hypothesis has been missing a key piece of proof: genetic evidence from the Hunan seafood wholesale market in Wuhan showing the virus. Oh, you motherfucker. All right, let's see if the full article is on archive.
Gotta be. They got everything over there.
Not really. Sometimes lately they've been like making you do the same thing, like the Wall Street Journal article I wanted to pull yesterday. Wouldn't let me pull it. Same
Huh.
thing. Like it's asking for a subscription.
Mm.
We'll
I don't want
find
to do
out.
that.
Yeah, no, it's done that with a lot. Let's see. Yeah, so it looks like I'll try to dig it. Man, raccoon dogs.
You
So
can
that's the theory, Mike, is that at the wet market there were people who were eating a specific breed of Chinese dog, and that's what it is, which I think is a little bit more racist than bat soup.
It is. But how? I guess I want to read the entire thing when it comes to the like the raccoon dog. It's like a half raccoon, half dog, or they killed both animals and then they minced their meats together to make like a raccoon dog sausage.
Okay,
And people
so
ate that, and that's how they got the coronavirus.
let's
Here, I
find
got
this.
it. I'm going to send you the
Okay.
full article right now. I went to an alternative to the Internet Archive. Here you go. Here's the archive link right there. Bingo. Put it in the Twitter.
Okay. I found a NBC story on it too that has a little video. Let's see. All right. Here's the Atlantic.
Oh man, they use the word slam dunk evidence in this article too.
Oh man, that's almost as good as smoking gun or the walls are closing in. What else did they say with Trump? Okay. This week, an international team of virologists, genomicists, and evolutionary biologists may have finally found crucial data to help fill that knowledge gap. New analysis of genetic sequences collected from the market shows that raccoon dogs being illegally sold at the venue could have been carrying and possibly shedding the virus at the end of 2019. It's some of the strongest support yet. Experts told me, and which expert? Okay.
Yeah.
And the pandemic began when SARS-CoV-2 hopped from animals to humans rather than in an accident among scientists experimenting with viruses, you guys. It was totally illegal dog-eating Chinamen who made it possible.
What is a raccoon dog, first of all?
Well, a raccoon dog. Let's see what the
Is there such species?
of course there is. Okay, so the common raccoon dog, also called the Chinese or Asian raccoon dog, is a small, heavyset fox-like canid native to East Asia, named for its raccoon face markings and most closely related to foxes. Common raccoon dogs feed on many animals and plant matter and are unusual among canids, dogs, foxes, and other members of the family Canidae, for climbing trees, hibernating in cold winters, and for being delicious. Notoriously, famously delicious.
Dude, I never seen these before.
No, this is like a new thing to me. Are we in like? Is this one of those Mandela effect things? Where
It is. Well, what it is.
By the
is
way, NBC has the same article, Steve. New
Yeah.
COVID origins. So they're hitting in this in the mainstream. Go ahead, buddy.
the Atlantic is mainstream, but we have fallen into the part of the simulation, the cartoon, the multiverse, the marmotverse, whatever you want to call it, where we've reached full overlap with Resident Evil, because now we've got raccoon dogs that basically have their one of the wouldn't the Wuhan lab have the same logo as the Raccoon City so we've gone from Raccoon City to raccoon dogs, and now we have the totally a real thing virus. That's
Dude,
not-
there's such thing as raccoon cats too.
why aren't these pets like everywhere? Like it's like raccoons are extremely cute. People love dogs. Combine
because they're
them,
like
and then you got yourself a
foxes.
hit.
They're like foxes, Mike, and you don't see a lot of people with a pet fox. Some crazy Russians, yes, I'll grant you that.
Well, out there in East Palestine, Ohio, there's some guy growing, or he was raising foxes out there, and they had a news report that all his foxes died because of the train explosion out there in Ohio.
Yeah.
So
Okay,
it
so I
does
stand
happen.
corrected. Yeah, it does. It does. Actually, one of the people who's organizing to help stop their town being Elyria being turned into a dumping ground for a lot of the East Palestine stuff was raising raccoons semi-illegally in his warehouse where he worked.
When I was growing up, one of my friends had a pet raccoon. Yeah, they're not the best, and he didn't raise them but you do have some pet raccoons here and there. But
I'm
when it
on the
comes to like a
fence with
raccoon dog,
raccoons. I'm on the fence. Like sometimes they can be really cool, sometimes they can be assholes. You know what I'm saying? Like I've seen situations of both. You know, Andrew had 2 raccoons that he kind of was raising as little babies because they were like orphans, whatever, and he put them out into the fucking woods, and they were kind of cute on film. And I've seen dudes who have had raccoons before, but then we've seen videos of the raccoons attacking the little girls, and you know what I'm saying? And they could be vicious, right? It's up to them if they want to, you know.
I got them out here. I mean, they'll take out chickens in a heartbeat.
So they eat meat, right?
Oh, you'll eat anything.
Oh, yeah, they literally anything.
Anything, right?
Yeah. The whole trash panda thing, that's not just a meme.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're super smart. They basically got hands, and like if you own one, they'll just dig through your walls. If it's an indoor raccoon, good luck having drywall. They'll just dig through everything you got. They don't care. They have no respect for authority.
The number one meme right now out there with the whole Aaron Rodgers things is like, this is Aaron Rodgers emerging from the darkness, and it's that one video where they open up the trash can and the raccoon's right there going, oh.
So let's hop back into this for a second. Really strengthens the case for a natural origin, says Seema Lakbala, a virologist at Emory University who wasn't involved in the research.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Let's see.
So,
And then go ahead.
so it sounds like this article, the Atlantic and NBC are saying that the coming war between the United States and China is being postponed a little longer because it didn't escape from a lab. It's natural, so therefore we can't scapegoat China right now.
But it's in Wuhan. So at the end of the day, it can just be the dirty Chinese man who likes to eat raccoon dogs so he can still manufacture consent for being mad at them.
Dehumanizing.
And yes,
I
it's
mean,
more of a dehumanization,
it
right?
really is.
Eat these raccoon dogs, Steve.
This is so much more racist than bat soup. This is so much more racist than the evil Chinese communists tried to take over our freedom and democracy and probably our white women.
This is
with
breeding
this virus.
raccoons with dogs is inhumane.
Well, I mean,
No.
Americans love dogs. Obviously, we love dogs, and we find raccoons to be extremely cute. So this is probably hits straight to the heart of what Americans care about: dogs and raccoons.
It's true.
And they're
It's
eating
true.
them over there.
Yeah,
And
they don't
no
even
one's-
breed them for pets. They breed them for food.
No one's ever gonna look into that. They're really not. They're gonna be like, holy crap, the Chinese breed raccoons and dogs.
They're
make
forcing
little
them to have
raccoon-
sex, and they're sick.
Right?
They basically have raccoon brothels, and they send the dogs in there, and oh my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I guess is no, you know what? They're Chinese communists, Mike. They don't even let the animals have sex. When you're born, you're assigned to be the raccoon dog sperm collector,
Mm-hmm.
genital stimulator.
Mm-hmm.
And so your job, as soon as you're able to walk, is jerking off what's going to become the stud for the next round of raccoon dogs.
It's a job. It's a tough economy out there. So
Yeah. They do have panda cuddlers. So it's not out of the realm of speculation that, I mean, there are jobs in regular laboratories where you're tasked to be the caged animal masturbator. Clerks taught us this.
it's,
You know, when you're referencing clerks.
the last paragraph here of the Atlantic, it says, if this new level of scientific evidence does conclusively tip the origin debate towards the animal route, it will be in one way a major letdown. It will mean that the SARS-CoV-2 breached our borders because we once again mismanaged our relationship with wildlife, that we failed to prevent this epidemic for the same reason we failed. And we could fail again to prevent so many of the rest. So are they tying it back to like just the earth? We're mismanaging Earth, maybe.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Well, because there has to be a climate change angle to it.
Yeah.
If you can't outright blame it on this is such nonsense too. This is absolute nonsense. Raccoon dogs. Okay.
I still want to see one. I still haven't seen one.
Oh, let's
I
do
just
that
went and
right
looked at
now.
them. Yeah,
Let's do that right now. I
they're
apologize.
pretty
Yeah.
interesting. Pretty freaky.
Common raccoon dog images.
I see them. Okay, they look pretty cool.
We'll share with the rest of the class.
Yeah, they look pretty cool. Why aren't people in Hollywood back like in the 50s like wearing pelts of these? They seem like super rare, super cuddly.
The one they're using for the NBC News article
Top
looks
left, yeah.
top left looks menacing.
Yep.
And then the ones that they're not using to blame on COVID look much cuter.
Yeah, they look really cute.
This one looks downright adorable.
Man,
And they're using that one for the likely started COVID. Now, all of these articles say COVID origins. BBC, Guardian, Telegraph, Daily Beast.
Yeah. It's all over the place.
Wow.
It's all over the place. They're trying to tell us something.
They really are.
ABC
This is it.
News. This one's looking back at you like, I might be cute or I might kill your grandma.
I'm gonna go fuck a dog right now. See you later.
Go bang a dog. You can go rifle your trash can. Ooh, white raccoon dogs. The albino raccoon dog. That one's the ghost raccoon dog.
The ghost raccoon dog.
That's the one that Putin's going to weaponize to shut off your heat in the winter. Yeah.
I can't believe these haven't been like imported and sold as like pets in the United States. They probably are, but when it comes to like how prominent they are,
I got to tell you,
I never
Mike,
heard of them.
you're prescient. You are. This raccoon dogs aren't pets. They're not. This is an article
can't be.
apparently from June 1st of 2019.
Well, I mean, cougars and lions aren't pets either, and tigers, but you know, people do own them and they keep them like in apartments. And you hear the stories of them like, oh, there's some guy had a tiger in New York City and lived in an apartment for 20 years.
Yeah.
Well, they can be.
This is the deadly tanuki, though. So, I mean,
I've just never heard of this animal besides today. This is the first time I've ever heard of this animal.
Yeah, that's the first time I ever heard of it too. And I mean, if they're talking about it at the WHO too, that's crazy as well. So I mean,
Is it a marmot?
It must be. It must be. It must be.
I don't know. Does it have a pouch?
Wait a second. Oh my God.
No, it's not a marmotsupial. It's not.
Oh no.
It's a fox. Or they say it's most closely related to a fox.
Oh my God.
However,
I found a picture of a dog or a raccoon hugging a dog.
so we've got to turn that into a little Instagram reel or something like that with some Isaac Hayes in the background. A little love gravy. That's when they did the interspecies.
Isaac Hayes.
Yeah. Yeah. When they tried to get the pig and the elephant. That was an old South Park. Don't you know that song by Loverboy? Anyway. Raccoon dogs.
Man. Crazy. These are end of days. End times.
Raccoon dogs. I don't know. As disease vectors. Sure.
It's just so bizarre that they would blame this poor innocent creature. I don't think it existed. I don't think it existed. Like, this is like the Mandela effect where everyone misremembers something or there's like a new piece of history. And I think this is like Mandela effect where this thing didn't really exist. And then the simulation did pop it into an existence.
It threw out raccoon dogs. I guarantee you that in Raccoon City there were raccoon dogs.
Probably.
Oh geez, Steve.
It's not my fault. It's not. Look, I tap in. I just tap in a little bit, and I'm a conduit for the cartoon and the Marmot verse. It's not that I want to be. It's that this is how this happens. The Atlantic article that I saw that was like, don't keep these as pets is from 2019, but is it really at this point? I don't know. Mike might be onto something here. I'm willing to run with it. There were no such thing as raccoon dogs prior to yesterday. This is a total psyop. Everybody under the sun is being suckered right now in order to be led to believe that an illegal raccoon dog meat operation.
It's very specific.
It's not illegal in
That's what it said in the first article.
Not in China, though.
Specifically said illegal in China. Even.
Yeah, but they've said that. All right, isn't that been the case before that these wet markets do things that aren't necessarily legal within the Chinese supermarkets, but they allow them to exist or some shit?
It's like a wink and a nod sort of thing, but that's only because they're godless communist pasta.
Oh, gotcha. That's where they sell the dogs, the baby dogs and shit, right? Supposedly in the wet markets. Like they say
Well,
there's thousands of them exist, and
apparently you can go get a whole ass raccoon dog fricassee at a Chinese wet market. Apparently they're serving up raccoon dog street tacos like a motherfucker.
I wonder if I can
raccoon
order one
dog
from
on a
Alibaba.
stick. They're delicious, I heard.
There's gonna be look, I get everybody. There's gonna be you're gonna be oversaturated with raccoon dog lore now, and all of this stuff that I'm with Mike. Raccoon dogs aren't real. They're the new pigeons of 2023.
People
I
Raccoon
saying
saw
dogs
the
are.
birds aren't
picture
real.
of
These are.
them. They're definitely real.
I don't know, man.
You ever
This
seen a
is
baby pigeon?
this is all
Have
crazy.
you have you pasta? Have you ever seen a baby pigeon? They're not real.
No.
There's got to be people at like in the intelligence community that read the same article as we did and going, "Are these things real? Can we run some sort of algorithm to see if these things really exist?" Like, there's a team of people right now somewhere deep within the Pentagon trying to decide whether or not if these things are real.
Oh man, I really hope so. I do. If nothing, yeah. If nothing else comes of my day, I want that to be real. I do. There's
Well, you know,
people hunkered down. You're trying to get to the bottom of the raccoon dog dilemma.
Joe
Did we
Biden's
put
in
this
front of a
up?
chalkboard trying to decide something if this is real or not. And, I mean, you had those stories of like Stalin trying to create an army of half gorilla, half man super soldiers. Who knows? Maybe the Chinese over there were doing something equally as goofy, trying to
They've
create
got the
The
raccoon.
speed of a dog now, and
mind of a raccoon.
the mind of the raccoon. It doesn't have the hands, so it can't do those things anymore that a raccoon could normally do.
Not unless it's faking. He could be a good
Ooh,
actor.
so maybe they were trying to combine the loyalty of the dog with the, almost hand-like manipulation and tenacity and the ability to get into places of the raccoon. They were trying to control
Break into Plum
this.
Island, break
Yes.
into Fort Detrick, and they have little hands to take documents. Perfect.
Mhm. Yeah, they can hold image scanners and just cameras and all kinds of things.
What is really fucking going on here that the whole goddamn mainstream media picks this shit up and starts running with this shit? And thank you to Robert, who just sent me some love, saying sourcing quality raccoon meat.
Yeah, what's the quality on this? Because I just want quality.
This is
raccoon dog.
milk-fed raccoon dog meat.
Grass-fed, free-range raccoon dog.
We got that.
free range.
We got that Wagyu raccoon.
Wagyu raccoon. Steve went out and massaged these raccoons every day. These raccoon dogs.
I gave
It's
them
ridiculous.
Guinness. I gave them. I gave them Wagyu beef. I took the raccoons to freaking Korean barbecue twice a week. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
That's ridiculous. You can
They-
get
they
beef
did.
bulgogi, raccoon dog bulgogi, raccoon dog brisket.
Yeah. If you just search raccoon dog, it is all over. Holy
Yeah.
moly!
I know, dude. Like, and I never heard of the species until today. Until first of all, when Steve put it up, I was like, okay, this is just a fucking funny thing. It's like there's no such thing as a raccoon dog. There's raccoon dog.
I want a raccoon dog fur coat now. Floor length. Fuck it. I demand payback for what these vermin have done to this country. I want raccoon dog fur.
I want the hat, right?
Like Davy Crockett over there with the
like
raccoon dog
Steve's
hat.
got the Steve's got the raccoon
yes,
dog hat.
raccoon dog skin cap. Absolutely. I want somebody to make a hat like the one homeboy put on Joe Rogan the other night at UFC, Rachmanov. I want that to happen. I have it somewhere.
Rachmanov.
I do. I have a picture of this somewhere. At any rate, whatever. But yeah, Joe Rogan looked like, I don't know, he looked like Mario when he's in the squirrel outfit with that hat on. It was pretty freaking hysterical. At any rate, that's what I want from the raccoon dogs. There must be blood. There must be payback. These creatures have wreaked havoc all over the planet with their filthy little, totally real, totally exist virus. And we've got to put a stop to it. We do. Let's eradicate them.
So all like as I search for this, like you get like 1 hour ago, CNBC, who calls on China released linking COVID origins with raccoon dog. Then you have National Post, Bloomberg. This is all within like the past within the past 5 hours. This is the Mockingbird media. They're picking up something, pushing something out, but at the behest of who? Who is really pushing this? Like who is benefiting from the
It's
raccoon dog story?
the deep state is because everybody's now looking at raccoon dogs and investing time and energy to figure out about this species rather than look at what's going on.
Yeah, is it real? That's where is this a real thing? We need to investigate Chinese balloons and Chinese raccoon dogs.
But
What the
also ban
fuck is going
TikTok.
on?
We've got to ban TikTok while we're at it. What I want to see are all of the TikToks of previous encounters with totally real raccoon dogs.
Yeah.
We have videos of raccoon dogs. Can somebody go to YouTube and see if I'm going to YouTube to see if there's any videos of raccoon dogs.
We can do it.
Like I
live.
want to hear them. I want to hear a fucking raccoon dog bark right now.
Yeah, what kind of sound does it make?
Yeah.
Does it
Okay.
bark? Does it
Raccoon.
growl?
Okay, so this is only a year ago, but we've got the Tanuki.
The what?
Meet the raccoon dogs.
I
2
see
years
it's
ago.
Tanuki. Yeah, yeah. It's 1 million views. Let me see this motherfucker.
All right, we're going in on
we're
raccoon.
doing it.
Going
AM
in
wake
on
up.
raccoon dogs. We are.
We need the marmot's messing around with raccoon dogs. Watch, the marmot is the controller of all the raccoon dogs.
Oh, of course. Of course. That's what it is. The CERN marmot is looking to train the raccoon dogs of Asia.
Wait a second. Oh, here he is. This is Tanuki, right?
A family of raccoon dogs. Though they are named for their resemblance, they are much more dog than they are raccoon. This opportunistic family have left their usual forest dwelling for the high life of the palace grounds. For the most part, mom, dad, and their 3 pups live a charmed life. But this is prime property. And there are other rival groups in the area who want in on the action.
Like the Korean meat company, who knows how delicious these adorable little motherfuckers are.
Okay, wait a second, though. Here's the
When's
question.
the last time you had some kebab made out of raccoon dog? Bet it's been a minute. You know why? Because you're poor.
Okay, you did meet the raccoon dogs in South Korea. Why didn't you do the Tanuki one, which was much
Well,
more?
it's the same thing. It's the same thing. It is.
It is?
But we can do.
But
that.
here's
We
the
can
thing
do
I
it.
got to say.
They're
Here's the
all-
question I have.
They're all
Here's the
raccoon dogs in the eyes of Jesus, Pasta. They
Okay,
are.
so here's the
Here we
question. They're saying it's more dog than raccoon. Is it just they call it a raccoon dog because
This
it's a
fluffy
dog that looks like a raccoon, or are they saying it because it's a hybrid cross species? That's what I want to know.
I think it's what I picked up. It says it's a dog, but it just looks like
Looks like a raccoon.
They
Yeah.
painted it up.
I thought this was an actual cross species between a dog and a raccoon.
No, they said, okay, from the very first time that we read it off, it is a fox-like creature that has raccoon-like markings. It's not that they actually sat down and were like, okay, so here's a little bit of Chianti. Here's some nice little nosh. We're gonna dim the lights a little bit, and then you raccoon and you dog are gonna go make sweet love. Nor was there, as we did sort of speculate, a laboratory somewhere where crazed communist Chinese scientists were gene splicing raccoon and dog in order to create a bioweapon of adorableness that the world has never seen before.
It could be a Hollow Earth creature for all I know, or one of those
That's
wacky
fair.
creatures down in Australia. Australia has some weird creatures that do like the platypus. You know, that's like a hybrid of some weird stuff. Like
That's
I'm kind of with like Pasta on this. Is like
That's
how
true.
much is a raccoon and how much is a dog in this creature? But apparently it's mostly dog.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
90%
dog that
dog.
looks like a raccoon. That's all it is.
It's a fox dog.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah, whatever. It's not like, they have me like hyped here. Like, oh my God, there's a raccoon, half raccoon.
I don't
half dog.
understand why you sound so deflated and disappointed.
Because it's just
right
a
now.
dog that looks like a raccoon. It's not an actual raccoon dog.
They do have like
false advertising.
they do have
They're
like
doing it to
pandas.
move people's emotions.
It is kind of BS.
Thank
They have a
you,
panda
Mike.
that looks like a raccoon. Like that red panda kind of looks like a raccoon.
Holy fuck. That's awesome. That's
False
awesome.
advertising.
That's awesome.
It should be a raccoon-looking dog. That's it, not raccoon dog.
It is. It is. It's kind of.
And
Frog.
if they're eating this shit, they're eating dog. Terrible.
That's what they do.
They always do that.
Those filthy Chinese communists, as they do. We
That's
talked
what they
about
said in the
this.
Atlantic.
Reason to go to war.
All right.
We should probably wipe them from the face of the earth, honestly. I mean, if anybody's going to sink that low, Pasta, they don't deserve to share the same airspace as good Christian soldiers.
See, on that same page that you put raccoon dog, you have that dude who's mobbed by raccoons, and it's just this dude whose wife passed away, and his wife loved feeding the raccoons, so he promised his wife he would feed the raccoons after she died, and he just goes out there and feeds a bunch of raccoons, you know what I'm saying, like hot dogs and stuff, and they're all around him, and he's like the raccoon whisperer, you know what I'm saying? It's really nice.
Did he also promise to catch the plague too? Because I think that's how you do it, is by hanging around raccoons.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. Raccoons, rats.
Raccoon lives matters, Mike.
I know. I like them. I'm just not going to feed them. Like that is a bad habit to engage in.
Oh
yeah.
Agreed. Yeah,
All
because
right,
they're
country
gonna
boys,
turn on
tell
you.
me why.
They're gonna steal your stuff, and then they're gonna turn on you.
They're going to get comfortable with your environment. They're going to get used to being fed at a particular time. They're going to keep coming back, and then when like you go out of town, maybe for like a weekend, they're going to see what else does he got, and then they're going to break in. They're going to find the key underneath your doormat. They're going to learn how to use it, and they're just going to tear your property apart. It's going to happen, and then they'll invite their buddies, the skunks, over, and that's never good.
Do they really hang with skunks?
Yeah,
Is there a
they'll hang out with
raccoon skunk?
Yeah, I've seen pictures of skunks and raccoons hanging out big time.
Yeah.
They love to party.
No.
Especially in national parks, because there's no competition. There's limited competition over food source because the campers are bringing in all of the food source. Sometimes you can even get them to like double team up in Big Basin in Santa Cruz County. They have these little makeshift boxes where you're supposed to be able to put your food in to keep the critters out of. Things like that. There's just a little bit of box, a little clasp on it, a little hasp block, whatever. And you can be sitting there with your whole loud ass family playing a game of dominoes, and a raccoon or two can come up, flip open the little latch, and start pulling your shit out. And it's not until they're like, I don't know, several steps into the process that it dawns on anyone sitting at the table, holy shit, we're getting robbed. They can carry off most of a weekend's worth of s'mores in a matter of seconds.
Well, raccoon lives matter. That's all I got to say.
I'm telling you, I want a raccoon dog skin coat to send a message.
It's just a dog. It's not a raccoon dog.
See, now that sounds like some elitist bullshit, Pasta. That's some bougie shit right there.
But he
It
just
really
said
is.
it's more dog.
Be better. Be better. They just said the narrator on the thing that I watched for 15 seconds before they actually explained how the.
They don't
Now
have
my
hands.
hopes are dashed. I want a refund.
The White House press secretary really needs to ask the White House about this question. Like,
Oh.
what is this? They
I'm
need
not
to
going to answer this question from
100%.
up here.
100%. So
I do not
this
want to
is
hear
the-
Karine Jean-Pierre, Claude Van Damme's take on raccoon dogs. No.
Isn't this the Stop Asian Hate Administration putting out the theory? It's
And
all
when people find out that they're more dog than raccoon, that they're not even really raccoon, they're going to be even more upset now.
Yep.
I maybe it depends on
They
what
are
type
eating dog.
what type of immediate emotional attachment they develop to the possibility of a hybrid raccoon.
Yeah, I
dog.
think Pasta's right. Once they discover it's really just dog that they're eating, that's going to be the
Yeah.
tipping point. Because in the South, people do eat raccoons. Like it's fairly common to that you eat a raccoon. That's fine, but dog, that's fairly uncommon in the United States.
Look
to
what they're
eat.
doing. They're doubling down on this shit. They're really going into this. Like, where the fuck? How? We are
The
in a
WHO called on China to release new data linking the COVID pandemic's origins to animal samples at Wuhan market after the country recently took down the research. Oh, there it is.
Oh, and
Right.
you got to put
It's-
that. You got to put that communist flag right there. Look at it. Look at it. The dirty
Yeah.
commies are even eating dog.
WHO on Friday called on China to release new data linking the COVID pandemic's origins to animal samples. That's right. Researchers from several countries downloaded and analyzed the data before it was removed and presented their findings to the WHO last weekend. Does provide more clues. Doesn't provide a conclusive answer.
They do mention raccoon dogs in this article. I made sure of that.
Van Kerkhove emphasized the data doesn't necessarily prove that a raccoon dog or other animal was infected with the virus and spread it to people, but she said it does establish that animals who can carry COVID were sold at the market, which is new information. No, it's not. That was the original information, you weirdo. The original information was that it was freaking bat soup, which was sold at the market. So no, it's not new. Your whole theory rested on that it jumped from animals to humans and that it wouldn't ever have been a lab created bioweapon. Because then you might have to do some shuck and jive about a lab leak theory that is also as preposterous as bat, pangolin, raccoon dog, freaking a whole menagerie suck and fuck homunculus soup of animal viral. Yeah.
Maybe they're saying that because maybe this is really an attack on dogs. That your dog needs to get vaccinated as well because it
Over
can
my
carry
cold
COVID,
dead
and
hound.
that opens up a whole new round of vaccinations for your dogs that are mandatory. So as the human injections wane, they got a surplus, so you got to give them to the dogs.
I mean, that's fair. That's fair. It's definitely something to consider. They're trying to jab all the chickens and the cows now. Why not jab your pets up?
Yeah. I mean, your dogs already get boosted out of their minds when you go to the vet. So why not add a COVID-19 as a mandatory annual vaccination when you take your dog in for your checkup?
I mean, it is safe and
All right,
effective.
now we're getting crazy.
Watch it happen too. In like 2 weeks, they're gonna come out and be like, you know who needs a COVID shot?
Your dog.
Rover.
Yep, I think that's it. I think that's the play here. They got a surplus. They got to dump it, and they're going to dump it on your dogs. Not my dogs, your dogs.
Right. Not my dog. Definitely not my
Well,
dog.
guys, I got to get out of here. I got to go figure out what's going on in Silicon Valley.
All right, Mike. Well, best of luck to you, my friend, and thanks as always for popping in. please let the good people know where they can catch your incredible show.
Yeah, just go to obdmpod.com or ourbigdumbmouth.com. We are live Wednesdays, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and Saturdays, Eastern Standard Time. We're streaming live to Twitch right now, but that might change. And yeah, check us out there. Hollow Earth is real. And
All right.
I'll talk to you guys
Hey,
next time.
go find out about the Jets and your sports contacts and Aaron Rodgers and all
All right,
that
I'll talk to
stuff,
Aaron
man.
soon. I'll report back.
You know, he told Adam Schefter, got a hold of his number. He told him, lose my number. Aaron Rodgers told Schefter.
Happy St. Patrick's Day, Mike.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, my
family,
God.
all
Watch
that
out for them
kinda-
leprechauns.
Do you
kinda
drink or no?
Like once a month. I had a few drinks over vacation. Little
Nice.
Puerto Rican
Is there going to be a
rum.
beer today, a green beer? Should I, when I raise it up, say it's to Mike?
Drink one for me because I'm not going to drink today. I got too much work to do.
I will drink a green Bud Light for you, I guess, whatever
I
the fuck they're
appreciate
putting in it. And it's on protest, but I love you, brother.
All right, bye, guys.
On protest. I'm voluntarily going to do something on protest.
Yes.
You don't have to. You don't have to. You
Exactly what I'm
you
going to
could
do,
order,
Steve.
You could order a nice